Seahawks fan, Niners fan, NL West, one of the craziest divisions in football. There were some betting lines that came out recently that had the Rams at plus 600, the Niners plus 650, Seahawks plus 1,200 to win the NFC this year. Calvin, when you see that, do you think people are underrating your Hawks?
Most definitely. Ever since Russell Wilson's been the quarterback for my Seattle Seahawks, the team has never finished below 500. And when you include the year 2017, when they missed the playoffs at 9-7, even then they were above 500. And so I think the ceiling is an easy 9-10 wins. And you kind of look at what they did on both sides of the football. I'm not going to say that, they made the surefire moves to propel them to the Super Bowl, but as long as you have a top 5 quarterback in Russell Wilson, you still have a top 5 head coach. You have talent really all over the place on both sides of the ball. It really just comes down to, are the Seahawks going to be able to master the new offensive scheme with Shane Waldron coming in as offensive coordinator? On defense, there are some pieces there. Jamal Adams, obviously, they got to get a contract extension done. But I think that when all is said and done, the Seahawks had the talent necessary to compete. And I think that slotting them in pretty much or essentially third in their own division, I think it's a little bit of a slap in the face. I mean, considering the fact that they did just win the division, albeit they ended, with the loss to the Rams, they did win the NFL's toughest division last year at 12-4. And so I certainly think that deserves a little bit more respect than that.
Are you concerned, though, kind of a thing I've noticed with Russell Wilson in the last couple of years is he starts off ball of fire, hot start, and then towards the last stretch of games, specifically in December and early January, just peters out. Like the offense stalls and just not a lot of movement going on there, despite a great offensive pieces like Chris Carson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, of course, Russell Wilson himself.
I totally understand the concerns. And yes, I'm a little bit worried just because it has become a trend in recent years. But I think that with Shane Waldron coming in, the type of offense that he's going to bring in, I think that he's going to cater not only to Russell Wilson, but he's going to bring a little bit more innovation to the offense. I think that in years past, there really hasn't been much innovation. There hasn't been very much creativity. And so that's why defenses kind of figure out, what the Hawks are doing in the first half of the year. I think that with Shane Waldron coming in, he's going to change a lot of things for this offense. The defense is going to be much better, in my opinion. And so I think that this year I'm not as worried. If Russell Wilson's still in his prime, he was really en route to being MVP last year, if not for the second half of last year. So I think that he has a fire. He's very motivated, and I think that he knows some of the doubt and some of the criticisms about him in the second half of seasons, and I think he's going to be looking to change that this upcoming year.
So what, are you saying Shane Waldron, like his recipe is to let Russ cook all year, or do you think the Seahawks would be best served to go back to more of a run-first offense and playing through their defense?
I'd like to see more of a balanced offense. I'm not going to say that, let Russ cook, but I'm also not going to lean towards, let's just pound and ground or ground and pound. When you have so many weapons at receiver, DK, obviously, Tyler Lockett, I have really high hopes for Gerald Everett, Dwayne Eskridge, some of the rookies that are coming in, Cade Johnson. And he's actually not even on the team anymore, but Tamori Ontario was another guy I was very excited about. But I just think that in years past, Russell Wilson has also lacked the weapons in terms of, not having a third option last year behind DK and Tyler. There wasn't a reliable third option. Running backs have been injured in recent years. Chris Carson, he's almost never always there during the second half of the season. He's always missing a stretcher here or there. And so I think that's definitely contributed to some of Russell Wilson's poor performances. But I'm going to say a little bit of both. I'm going to say hopefully Shane Waldron brings in a more balanced offense.
How do you think they stack up to the rest of the division, whether we're talking about the Rams, who had the number one defense in football last year, big change at quarterback with Matthew Stafford, obviously, the Niners, who their biggest thing has been over the last few years, health. Let's face it, led the league in injuries over the last 4 years. And I don't know whether it's the field, Levi's, or we just draft soft guys, but something's not right there. And then you have the Cardinals, the wild card, this team that, again, they looked like they were poised to make a wild card spot last year. And then they just honestly shit the bed in the last 4 weeks there. Like whether it's losing to CJ Beathard in a must-win game or just, a couple other losses that were uncharacteristic of the team very early on. Similar type of trajectory to Russell Wilson, yet Kyler Murray just seemed like he stalled out towards the end. Whether that's the injury or the offense got figured out, that's hard to say. How do you think the Seahawks look compared to the rest of the division, team by team?
It's hard to say that, they're the clear-cut favorite, just because I feel like so many of these teams are so close. I think that it's really neck and neck. I really think that any of these teams can win the division, and actually have the Cardinals as one of my dark horses, not just in the NFC West, but in the entire NFC in and of itself. And so that being said, I can honestly see all 4 teams making the playoffs. If I really had to pick one team today, I'm still going to go with the team that won the division last year, not just because they're the hometown team, but just because I have the most faith in the roster and Russell Wilson, I think that with the Cardinals, I still don't trust Kliff Kingsbury. In the Rams, yes, you had the number one defense last year, but is Matthew Stafford going to be able to offset all those losses on defense, including Brandon Staley? With the 49ers, like you said, health, we don't know if Trey Lance is going to be ready. And so there are a lot of issues right now, and I just think that with the Seahawks, they shouldn't be the easy number one, but right now, I just thought of him at number one.
Hey. We still got Jimmy G. Trey Lance, you can wait a minute. Feels great, baby. Come on. We got this. We got a winning record with Jimmy if he stays healthy.
Oh, no, definitely. He wins games.
That's the thing. I mean, I've always had this debate with Jimmy. It's just like, when he is on the field, obviously the Niners produce, they win games. That, honestly, I'll take that over just a fantastic statistical season any day. I don't know what it is. I don't know what that charisma is, but it brings wins to the team. And considering I haven't seen a lot of those in my Niners fanhood, I'll take them. But, you bring up great points with the Rams there. Matthew Stafford, obviously a big switch. I feel like a lot of pressure is on Matthew Stafford too this year that a lot of people aren't really talking about, because so long we just played it off on, well, he's with the Lions. The Lions don't win. The Lions are a bad organization. And now he's with a good organization. Now he's with a offensive coordinator in Sean McVay, who's very talented and has been able to produce the last couple of years with Jared Goff. And if you read a lot into the comments that they put out there about Jared Goff, it sounds like it was a very mutual breakup there. Very heated breakup too, based off some of these direct pot shots they seem to be taking at the guy. So, I feel like there is a lot more pressure on Matthew Stafford this year than people are really talking about.
No doubt. I mean, look, the team traded not only their starting quarterback, but 2 future first-round picks and an initial pick on top of that. And Matthew Stafford, for as good as he is, for as talented as he is, you're right. He has yet to really put it all together in terms of making a playoff run. A lot of people talk about, oh, he didn't have weapons. He didn't have a defense. He was in a terrible city. Well, he had a couple of years over there where he had a decent roster around him. He had a decent defense around him. He had Calvin Johnson. He's had a 5,000-yard season. And so I get it. Like, he's talented, but talent isn't always going to equate to success. And yes, he's going to have a defense. He's going to have a running game. He's going to have a great head coach, but he still has to put it together. He still has to be able to establish a rapport with the receivers over there, And we're going to have to see if he's going to be able to carry this team. Not only is he getting older, but like I said, I don't know if he's good enough at this stage in his career to offset some of those losses on defense. You have Aaron Donald, you have Jalen Ramsey, but who else do you really have? I don't trust the rest of that Rams defense. Now, after losing John Johnson, Michael Brockers, Troy Hill, and I know they have a lot of guys waiting in the wings, but I've yet to really see it. And so until that happens, I'm not going to buy too much into the Matthew Stafford hype.
Yeah, and then too, people are underrating this. You have Brandon Staley. You mentioned him leaving. That is a huge loss because Sean McVay, he doesn't call a single play on defense. They've had their third defense coordinator in 3 years. That is an adjustment for a team that, like you mentioned, is going to be very top heavy with those top 2 guys, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. So who's going to be teaching the younger guys the scheme? Who's going to be making sure that everyone stays in line? Well, now it's not Sean McVay. It's, I don't even know their defense coordinator's name offhand this year. But again, the point is
Raheem Morris.
Raheem Morris, he definitely had success with the Falcons last year. That was right around when that team had its little bit of a turnaround. But again, new face, new voice, doesn't always equal the best results. Moving on to another team too, speaking of high pressure situations. So you mentioned the Cardinals in there as well. NL West, it's a very tough competitive division. Kliff Kingsbury, I tell you, talk about a coach on the hottest of hot seats. As I mentioned, they lost to C.J. Beathard and the Niners in a must-win game towards the end of the year on Amazon Prime. But I think that's kind of very telling of where this team has been. And they went out this offseason. They acquired some veterans here, J.J. Watt, A.J. Green. Is that enough for the Cardinals to really make that push? And when you said you had them as a dark horse contender, how much does that go for you? Are you saying like Super Bowl contender, or are we just talking about NL West contender?
No, definitely just NFC West. I'm not going to go as far as to say Super Bowl, but a lot of my hopes of the Cardinals being a dark horse in the NFC really lies on Kyler Murray. I'm just that much of a believer in Kyler Murray, and I could really see him making a leap towards MVP status this upcoming year. I don't trust, like I said, I don't trust Kliff Kingsbury. I don't trust A.J. Green. I don't trust some of those veterans that they brought in. James Conner still can't seem to stay healthy. And so I'm really riding my hopes on Kyler Murray. Once again, I think he's a generational talent. I think that he's one of the brightest quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think that he can compensate for a lot of the weaknesses on that football team.